Hello, and welcome to the McDuffie Minute Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Smith. On January 4th, our community lost one of its most influential members. Robert E. Knox Jr. helped shape what Thomson, Deering, and McDuffie County look like today. From his 3 decades as Thomson's mayor to time spent advising local governmental bodies as their attorney, he made it his mission to build up every aspect of his hometown and the surrounding areas. We know there are truly not enough words to describe all the things that Mr. Knox meant to McDuffie County. But we have spoken to a few people who knew him and worked with him as a tribute to his tireless commitment to improving our community. So thank you for joining us on this special memorial edition of McDuffie Minute.
I'm Epp Wilson, Foxborough, Bellmead Hunt, and born and raised here in Thomson, and lucky to have been good friends with Bob Knox all my life. My grandfather loved Thomson so much that he often said that 2 meals a day in Thomson, Georgia are better than 3 meals a day anywhere else in the world. And Bob Knox was the same way. And I'm the same way too. I never wanted to live anywhere else. But Bob was born, if I have the story right, Mr. Bob Sr. and Miss Ruth were in California. He was stationed in California for the Army. And when he was released, they drove all the way back from California. And in the car that day and age, I don't know how long it took them to get back. There wasn't an interstate system. And so they came by 78, and they came through Warrenton. And when they got to the county line near Briarwood, Mr. Bob pulled the car over, didn't say a word, got out, took little Bob's, he was like a year old, took his shoes and then his socks off, and Miss Ruth said, "Bob, what in the world are you doing?" And he said, just watch, it'll be fine. And he took the infant baby and put his bare feet in the red clay of McDuffie County. He says, "I want him to know where his roots are, where he's from, and he's going to do great things for McDuffie County." And that was his start in McDuffie County, and he loved McDuffie County and served the county. He worked and was a great professional in his attorney field in his work that way, but he worked just as much for the community, for his church, for the Rotary Club, for as mayor and civic leader, respected all over the state. In fact, he was so well respected that several people suggested that he run for governor, and Bob Flanders was going to be his chief of staff. And because Bob's a great guy too, and they were a great team, when they worked together for the city of Thomson, as Bob was the city manager or city administrator. But Bob said, "No, I appreciate it, but I want to, if I'm governor, I won't have time to do everything I want to do for Thomson." And he turned it down. So it appears that the political machine at the time was ready to endorse him and help him get elected governor, and he'd have been a great governor. He was a great mayor, but we're lucky for Thomson that he chose to just stay in Thomson and do what he could for the community. And as you know, he did a lot. He did so many things in so many areas, but one of the best things he did was the Relay for Life. And I just have the picture in my mind's eye. He's out there in his straw hat and his short breeches, because I never, you rarely saw Bob Knox in short breeches. He was generally in a suit, in his law office, or even at Rotary. He was always wearing a coat and a tie. But out there, he had on his Relay for Life shirt and his khaki shorts and his big smile. And the Relay for Life did, it raised so much money for the community, but it involved people from all walks of life, because cancer has touched everybody from all walks of life. And, we tend to get insulated in our little cocoon, even within a small town like Thomson. And we tend to, that's our circle of friends and acquaintances. And, Bob and I are Methodists. We don't know, we knew a lot higher percentage of the Methodist folks in Thomson than we did the Baptists or the Presbyterians or whatever. And the Relay for Life got everybody involved, and Bob made sure he'd stop by every tent multiple times, meeting and greeting, shaking hands and kissing the babies. And not that he was running for office, but he was promoting the cause. It wasn't about his popularity. It was what he could do for the cause. And year after year, he was the one, his natural leadership made that successful and inspired people to want to do for it. And if Bob called you and said, hey, I need you to do thus and such for Relay for Life, you just did it. He used that influence for good in the community. And like I say, over and above the money that it raised, all the different organizations, the hospital auxiliary, every organization in town was involved and on the same team and having fun together. And that was just huge. And what was it, I think 17 years that he either chaired it or co-chaired it. As we start to get older, we don't have the energy level and the drive we had at one time. And I know we took a year off one time, and then it sort of wound down. And basically, nobody else wanted to or had the ability to carry the ball. He was the quarterback for the deal. But I'm glad now that his nephew, Andy Knox Jr., and has organized a committee and a lot of other good people. And I don't know who else is on the committee, but they're going to get it back going, and which is good. It's good. And it needs to get back going. But Bob was the right person at the right time, at the right place to do so many good things. And, this town's really gonna miss him. It's gonna take an army of people to replace what he did and how the many ways he helped the community and helped folks from all walks of life. So God bless him.
I'm Sean Kelley, the mayor of Deering. When I came into office back, I think it was 2005, when I got voted in, Mr. Knox was the city attorney. And, being city attorney, of course, we had a lot of dealings that we had to deal with him. And, I never really had any interaction with him before then. And I just remember, I knew he was the mayor in Thomson, and I knew he was very well thought of throughout the community, but I never had any interactions with him. But, as I started getting into the city business and stuff, there were several things that came up, contract readings and stuff like that we had to do. But I think he actually called me and sought me out and congratulated me on being the next mayor. And, I think he was actually one of the first people, elected officials around that actually, took the time to call me. And I thought a lot of that then. But, as the years went on, we had a bunch of interactions. But Mr. Knox, he point blank just told me, he said, if you need anything city-wise, personal-wise, whatever, don't hesitate to call me. And, there was several things going on, especially not knowing what I was doing being mayor. That I just didn't have a clue, and I took him up on it. I gave him a call, and he was as gracious. And when I went in, he'd act like there was nothing else to do. We'd sit back there. If it took 20 minutes, it'd be 20 minutes. If it took an hour and a half, it'd be an hour and a half. I mean, it seemed like I was the only person around, and he was there not only with legal advice, but more importantly, just person-to-person advice. Being a mayor for as long as he was mayor, he's a wealth of knowledge, not to mention being a lawyer. He just couldn't been any more of a kind and welcoming type of a person. And then throughout the years, going to different meetings and being around all the different elected officials, I mean, it was very clear to me. Didn't matter who was there, that when Mr. Knox walked in the room, that he was the man that everybody looked to. I always felt like when he was in office, the three entities, Thomson, Deering, and McDuffie, I felt like we just all got along so much better, and we seem to be driven toward the common good. Not saying that we're not now, but and then in later years, after I've been in office for a while, I got invited to go to Rotary, and that was a big deal for me. I mean, that seems to be the upper crust of the area, and once again, Mr. Knox was the most welcoming. Not that others weren't, but he just made me feel right at home, like I belonged there. I just had the ultimate respect for that and the way he handled himself. And, I will never be the mayor that man was, but, I always look at how he handled himself and conducted himself and the meetings and stuff. And, that's what I strive to be like. Everybody should be like that. He just, I don't know, it was just strange, the amount of respect that everybody had for him everywhere we went. And he didn't get it through being loud or anything. He just got it through working hard and doing the right thing. And he was a great guy. He really was. And like I said, if I can turn out to be 1/10 the mayor that he was, and I think I've done quite well for myself. But I certainly will miss him and his advice, and he left quite a hole to fill that I don't know you can actually fill, which I have to kind of work around.
My name is Alton Belton. I'm a city councilman, and I serve with Mayor Knox from, I think, about 92. He was the one that really got me into politics. We had, after the state went by and redistrict, you need somebody to fill a term. And so he had sent Mayor and Pass over there to talk to me, and knowing Mr. Knox, he is the one that he don't take no for an answer. He gonna find a way to get you involved in the community. And so after about a week, maybe, saying no, and he told Mayor and said, I want to talk to him myself. And so I'll never forget one Thursday afternoon, I told my wife, I said, working with Georgia Power, I don't have time to be in politics. I don't know anything about politics. And I said, there's a lot of time presuming. And he told Mayor and said, tell him to come by and see me. And so I made up my mind I was going by and see him. So when I went over there, I still was a no. So he told Mayor and said, well, tell him to come by my office Friday afternoon. So that didn't work out. So he told Mayor, so tell him to come by the house Saturday morning, 8 o'clock. And I want to talk to him. And I said, I'm not going there. And knowing Mr. Knox, he just insists that he want people to be on the right direction. And so I went there, and he said, I see you made it. And Miss Dot, she just like a mom anyway. And I said, okay, what you got in your mind? He said, I want you to be on city council. I need you to fill a term. He direct anyway, but he's good direct. And I said, Mr. Knox, I don't know anything about government. And he said, well, you work with Georgia Power. What you don't know, you can learn it. And he said, we believe in the city of Thomson. We spend money in our budget to make sure everybody gets school. He said, because I don't need anybody on the city council that don't know the rules and regulation. You need to be schooled because when somebody asks you something, you need to know what they're talking about. And I said, I just won't have time. He said, I already got that covered. I said, oh, you do? He said, let's have breakfast. I said, okay. And so we sat down and we talked. And he finally convinced me. He was just a person that if he saw something that needed to be done, you couldn't walk away from it. You just wanted to be involved. And he had such a vision there about this community. And he and I, we used to play basketball in the rec department. We already knew each other, just from over the years. But I didn't know he thought enough for me, to pull me in something that I didn't know anything about. But his thing, Mr. Knox, he was always, you was going to learn what you had to do. It wasn't that you just going to be there and be a yes man. So the first thing he told me, and he said, now, what I need somebody to put this community in their mind, and when our children grow up, we can see the progress and they can carry it on. He said, I don't need no yes sir man. He said, I want somebody that gonna think for themselves and do what's right for this community. And I said, well, I guess so. He said, okay. He said, what I need you to do, he said, you won't be sworn in till January because you finished the term. I think that must have been probably October, November. And he said, what I want you to do, our council meeting is at such and such time. He said, I need you to be to every one of them. I want you to sit there and learn all you can, how to conduct a meeting and what you need to do and what you need not to do. And he said, you can? I said, well, depending on whether I had to work or not. He said, I got that covered. And I said, okay. And so the thing went well, and to this day, I'm proud that I got a chance to work alongside him, because this community, I never seen a guy that he had so much knowledge on how to build a community. Well, I told him he could have been the governor of Georgia. He's the president of the United States, because he could take the plainest person in the world and get that person to be in leadership. Because he just had a mind. He's one of the best leaders that I ever seen. And just across the state of Georgia, you got the whole state of Georgia. And he asked me to go to he was doing a public speaking on a newly elected class one day. And one thing about him, if you go to Atlanta, during GMA, when it's supposed to be training season, you had to go to everything that you could make it to that day. He just wants you, if you just stuck your head in there, he just wants you to get some knowledge how government really works and how you need to take care of peoples. And so he was making this speech. He was newly elected office, and I'm thinking that might have been my third or fourth year, because I was just going to finish there 2 years and I was going to go home. But then I got there and saw what a visionary he was, like, okay, I'm going to stay a little while longer. And so that day up in Atlanta, he was talking about consolidation. This back probably in the early 90s. And he was telling people about, working together. And that was always his strong suit. He could get people to work together, where you could be fighting this minute, but you'd be working together the next minute. And he was the type, I never will forget those two guys. He was speaking, and he stopped for a section answer, because he was telling people like how we begin to do things here. And he made a statement about the fire department. He said, well, we got a fire department sitting right in the middle of town, got a neighborhood right behind it, and a house caught on fire, and they could have stuck the hose out the window and put the fire out. But we had some problem with leadership, them and that. They didn't want to do it. He said, what sense did that make? He said, it don't matter who put it out, as long as those people were safe, and that's all that mattered. And he said, we took care of that problem. And he said, we put in an ordinance what we was going to do and how we was going to do it, and everybody, voted for it. And he said, we don't have that problem no more. We even got water and stuff together. He said, we pay all this money for different things, and you can combine some of this stuff and have a better community, and even the community. And his thing were, just because he was in McDuffie County, he want Warren County and every other county close by to be, prosperous too. And so he was speaking after he stopped for absent section. I was sitting there and I heard them two guys behind me, and they said, I wonder who gonna be the boss. And he was just question and answer, people. So one of the guys raised a hand, they took the mic to him. And so the guy said, Mr. Mayor, let me ask you something. He said, all this stuff that you all, he signed good. You all seem like you're doing pretty good. He said, nah, if y'all do consolidate, who gonna be the boss? I knew then, because I've been around in too long, I knew that wasn't gonna be a good answer. And he said, you know what? He said, that's what's wrong with the world today. Everybody wanna be the blankety blank boss, but nobody wanna worry about what we need to do to work together. He said, I don't care who be the boss. He said, George and I, we work for McDuffie County. He said, we got a city and we got the county. And he said, what's good for the city is good for the county. What's good for the county is good for the city. That's what bothered me about a lot of y'all elected officials. You worry about your doorstep. You don't worry about what's on the outside of your doorstep. He said, I'm going to ask you something. He said, I know we got people from all over the state, from the flatland to the mountains. He said, the people that build a house up on the mountain, he said, how long it take you to build a house up there? And somebody said, Mr. Knox, it take a long time. And he said, good point. He said, now, think about it. If you don't try to bring your whole neighborhood and community up together, just because you stay on this side of town, somebody else stay on that side. He said, why not bring the whole time up together? He said, one thing about it, you can be selfish all you want to. He said, but one thing about life, he said, it took you a long time to build it up. But if you don't bring everybody up together and everybody be equal, he said, you ever seen a house fall off a mountain? He said, don't take but a few seconds to get it back down in the bottom where everybody else. And he said, that's something we need to stop worrying about who gonna be the boss. We got more chief than we got Indians working. They must have gave him a 10-minute standing ovation. And he told them, he said, what you worry about the wrong thing in life. He said, McDuffie County don't belong to the white. McDuffie County don't belong to the black. McDuffie County don't belong to the Hispanic. McDuffie County belongs to all of us. And he said, if we consolidate, he said, whoever, if they put Joyce in there, he said, we gonna work with Joyce. If they put me in there, we gonna work. There's another standing ovation. I said, that's something that you don't really hear from a leader. And I thought from that day, so when he finished, he and I got together, and he said, how did I do? I said, well, I think the whole world know you today, after today. And so, it went on. And I guess from that day on, I thought, okay, if election come up, because the first thing he'll say, you is going to run. I said, yes. It was no more, I don't think so. So he the one got me enthused about, leadership. And whenever you go anywhere, you hear people say, y'all got one of the best, mayors. They said best leader. They wouldn't say mayor. They said the best leader that I ever came across. And I always thought about, things that he did. He spent more time in Atlanta. People just don't know how many boards and how many things that he cheered. And to see this kind of, profit from, the work that he did, like from infrastructure, and you take the water and stuff, that it's people always said it's what you know, but it was who he knew. And he got a lot of stuff done here. So to me, when it come down to leadership, he was the best that ever could be. And I never seen anybody, and not right now, that can replace him. But all over the state, people love him, and I love him, dearly, because he was a great mentor to this community. And him and Miss Dot, you thought he was a person that didn't have a penny where he carried himself. Everybody else need help. And our job as leaders is to make sure those peoples, get the help they need. Like I said, we might not be able to help everybody on this term, but we'll try to help everybody that we can. And he was always, he served with, some people take whatever they get, they close it up. And his hand was always open to help other people. So to me, we gonna miss a great leader, and he did a lot of great things here in McDuffie County, and I appreciate it every day to him and his family, and we gonna miss him. But great leader, whatever he did, he never not had time to make sure that he solved a problem. You could go to him. He never said, "I'll get back with you." You go. He wanted to know what it was. What can he do to fix it? And that's one of the best leaders that I ever worked with. Now, I've worked with some great leaders, but that's why I've been here, I think, probably about 30-some years now, through his leadership. And every time I say I'm going to retire and I would see him, he said, "No, you still got some work to do." So that's why I'm still here. And I just want to thank him for his leadership to McDuffie County.
My name is Mychele Rhodes. I'm the superintendent for McDuffie County Schools, and I had the privilege of knowing Mr. Bob Knox for the entire time, actually, that I've worked here in the school district, but in a more one-on-one fashion when I became the superintendent, as Mr. Knox served as our school board attorney. And quite honestly, when we met for a few of the first times, he was quite intimidating. His mannerisms, he commanded a room. His presence was just very knowledgeable, and you could tell that his passion for the school system, but also for Thomson and McDuffie County, showed in every conversation that I ever had with him over the course of the last 10 years. I joked with him recently that after a few years went by, I wasn't afraid of him anymore. I learned that there was a very gentle side about him and his personality. He was very astute, very much attention to details in every situation, whether it was a situation dealing with a student, whether it dealt with real estate for the school system, any situation that we discussed together, he was always very present in the conversation. He was always very concerned about every detail, any background information, any details of the situation, and what was our plan for moving forward. His help in those conversations really provided me guidance as a new school superintendent 10 years ago, and continued to help me make the best decisions that I could for the students here in this community. Outside of seeing him as our school board attorney, I also have fond memories of watching him orchestrate our local Relay for Life. Of course, the school district played a part not only in hosting the Relay for Life, but each of our schools had teams that participated. There was never a doubt that Mr. Bob's passion for Relay for Life and the American Cancer Society showed in every time that event was held at the Thomson High School track. It really became a community event, not just for fundraising and assisting the American Cancer Society, but it became a social event as well. You could always tell in attendance that people were genuinely happy to be there to support those efforts and to work together as a community. And that all as a result of his leadership and his leadership skills. Certainly, Mr. Bob's passing is a tremendous loss to this community. He was such a fair, honorable, compassionate, well-educated man that gave his whole life to Thomson and McDuffie County. He will certainly be missed by all of us here in the school system, and we continue to keep his family in our thoughts.
I'm one of your hosts, Christopher Wells, and that's all for this episode of McDuffie Minute. Thank you to our listeners for logging on and tuning in to this special edition about Bob Knox Jr. The ripple effects of his influence here will continue to be felt for a long time to come. Every time you get a chance, take a minute and learn a little bit about this place we call home. It'll help you follow Mr. Bob's example by finding ways to make great things happen here in Thomson, Deering, and McDuffie County. By doing so, you can help make your community a reflection of you.